Gwen Stefani on Home of Dubbo's best music from the 80s to now, 10 minutes past 8. Top of 21 in Narromine today. It's about 11 and a half at the moment, going to be lovely and sunny. Mayor Matt Dickinson joins us. Good morning, mate.
Yeah, good morning. It was actually, I was very thankful actually that it was warm-ish on Friday night, because Friday night we spent the night at the jail. I looked everywhere.
Yes, I'm sure you were glad with the weather, yes.
It wasn't too bad actually, but I looked everywhere for you, Keegan. I thought surely Keegan would be down here sleeping in the jail as a fairly new person to Dubbo. Surely
I just live in the jail.
Experiences.
It's just that night I wasn't actually there to have a rest. I was at Tommy Little down the road, so I was close, but not quite there.
Yeah. No, it was a good night, and that's the Vinnie's community sleep out. Probably about 20 people, I think, were there in the end. And I did choose again. I wasn't going to do it, but I went back to the solitary confinement cell again this year. I was looking around where to sleep, and I just went, the draw of that, I don't know what it was, but it just feeling like someone in there for real when it was a real jail, just having all your senses cut off. I just thought, I want to try and experience that. But of course, I could walk out.
Interesting choice.
Well, it was.
Yes, you did have the choice to leave it.
Yeah, that's right. So, but anyway, good night and well done to Vinnie's.
What did you actually have for dinner when you were out there? I don't know why the question's popped in my head, but now I'm curious what you can actually prepare when you're sleeping in that sort of fashion.
Well, you could do whatever you want, but I cheated. I had something to eat at home before I went down there.
Oh, right, okay. Well, brush past that. Something else.
They didn't open the flap and shove some food or something like that to me.
That would be very realistic.
It would.
Now, something else I saw you were up to. You presented a sort of a slideshow presentation at Dunedoo the other day, if I'm not wrong.
The Independent Planning Commission, which is a New South Wales government body, is looking at the process for renewables. So you've heard me talk about it before. Dubbo Regional Council is not the consent authority for all of these renewable energy projects, all these large ones, once they get over a certain value. This particular one was the Spices Creek Wind Farm, $2 billion project. And basically I was invited along to the IPC in Dunedoo just to present Council's view. It was open to the public. You could make an application to come along and present. There were about 25 presenters there for the day. And it was actually quite interesting because I now know how it feels when people come along to public forum at Council, because the panel made it quite clear that every presenter has 5 minutes and 0 seconds.
Yep.
You can stop under that, but you can't go over that. You'll be cut off. You'll get a warning bell at 4 minutes. I give a warning bell at 4 minutes 30 when it's a council meeting, when public forum is on. But it was very clear that at that time, the presentation will be stopped.
Yep, it'll just finish.
So
no matter what word you're on.
That's right. Make sure everything you've got to say, you've got to get said in that first 5 minutes. So I presented that, and it was really just to give an overview of where Council sits in terms of our voluntary planning agreement, any processes in place with the Spices Creek Wind Farm. Some of the people there were unhappy about the wind farm. They were presenting and telling about their story, which was fine. That was the whole idea of the IPC there. My job certainly wasn't to interact with the crowd. My job wasn't there to take feedback from a council perspective. My job was to present to the IPC, which is what I did. And there's a video I posted on if anyone's interested to see my 4 minute and 55-second presentation there.
Cutting it close.
Very close.
Now, I understand this Thursday is the very last ever council meeting. But the thing is, it was already meant to have happened, and now there's an extra one.
You've been a bit sneaky there. Pick me up on that. The last council meeting happened on the 15th of August.
Yeah.
But at the last council meeting, we resolved to have one more council meeting because it was such fun, and we all enjoyed each other's company so much. Let's have one more council meeting. We have got a council meeting on this Thursday, the 5th of September. It will be a fairly short council meeting, held at midday rather than our normal time of 5:30.
Right.
And it's got one specific purpose with a couple of extra things to do. The main purpose is to refer our financials to the auditor. You have to do that, and there's a certain time frame. If we left it till the new council was elected and had a council meeting then, that would be past our time frame. So we have to do it on Thursday. As it so happens, we've got some DAs that also need to be considered by council, so we'll actually consider a few DAs. We can consider DAs in caretaker mode as long as they're not controversial. And of course, the first question is...
What defines that?
Exactly right. If it impacts some individual, they would say, well, this is a very controversial DA, but technically, according to the Act, if it's received more than 25 submissions during the submission period, that makes it a controversial DA. The 3 we're considering on Thursday aren't controversial given those parameters. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring forward a mayoral minute, and that's going to be relating to an application to the transition fund, the $11.25 million that was announced about a month or so ago in the Renewables Transition Fund. And we're making that application at this stage. It'll be a council resolution, but at this stage we've resolved to go forward for our REACT Centre, subject to the feasibility study being fine, and that'll be brought forward on Thursday with a mayoral minute with a bit of information around the feasibility study.
So when this meeting ends, I'm curious, do the council employees just take all of your keys and lock you out in the car park or something? What's sort of the official process of your term ending and going into an election process?
Well, we've still got a little bit of time after that. So on the 13th of September, the staff have organised for councillors to bring in their iPads. I don't have a council iPad, but all the other councillors have a council-supplied iPad. So they'll all bring their iPad in and hand that over. We've all got access keys to get into the building, so
They
we'll
do
hand all
take your
those
keys,
over.
right?
They do take the keys, that's right. And I've got I use my mobile phone, but I've got a SIM card in my mobile phone that's the mayor's phone number. So I'll take that SIM card out and ceremoniously hand that over to someone to then take the mayor's phone calls for the next few weeks until we get another mayor. Presumably it'll be about the 3rd of October is the date that we've tentatively said there'll be a mayoral election for a mayor to be elected at that point in time. So yeah, it's all a bit sad. We had a bit of a discussion, a bit of a dinner after the last council meeting, which we thought was going to be the last
A
council
bit
meeting.
premature.
That's right, just a little bit premature. But it was also nice. I had a chance to just talk about each individual councillor and the contribution they've made, because this has been a really good team. I think we've achieved lots of great things during this time. But it's been a short time frame, so that's made it a bit more difficult. It's only about 2.5 years that we've really had together to achieve things, and so you've got a lot to learn to get up to speed to then actually make things happen. And 8 of the councillors had never served on any council before. I'd never served on Aboriginal council, so we only had one returning councillor. A lot of learning to occur in relation to that. So, and look, I want to thank you too, Keegan, very briefly. Just your time. It's fantastic for Zoo FM and yourself to give me time each fortnight to come along and talk. One of the roles that's specific in the Act about the mayor is that the mayor of any of the 128 councils in the state is a spokesperson for council, and it's pretty important for that spokesperson to be able to communicate with the public. And I love the fact that you allow me to come along and use your radio station for 8 or 10 minutes every fortnight just to talk to the public about what's been happening and what's going on. So I appreciate your time.
That's absolutely no problem. I mean, I think it's actually a good sort of revolving cycle, because if I remember correctly, just before we wrap things up, when I think it was one of the first times that I was here in the chair and you'd come in for the memo, we spoke about the Spices Creek wind farm, and now it's back in the topic of discussion yet again. So we've done a nice big circle and come back to the beginning.
Yeah, and it's an important project, but there's 37 of those projects that are ticking away of various sizes in our renewable
Shopping
energy
list full of
zone.
them.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
I'm sure there'll be more to talk about in the future. Well, I appreciate your time yet again. Best of luck, whether we speak again in the future or not. Much appreciated for coming on.
Thanks very much, Keegan.